Hello and welcome to another episode of Action Toon Bros. I'm your host Ben Sturgeon, and with me today is my other host, Matthew Lewis.
Hey, it's the other host, Matthew Lewis.
Well, now here's my question, Matt. What do you know about video games?
Quite a lot. I have a Twitch stream and everything.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to do shameless plugs at the end.
Of course.
Anything by Konami?
Metal Gear.
I said games. I didn't say that.
Pachinko machines. From Konami.
Silent Hill probably is another one that you
I have barely touched that. I've never touched the Silent Hill series. No.
I thought with you you'd like a survival horror.
Yeah.
But we're not going to survival horror. We're actually going to go to one of Konami's other games. We're going to talk about Castlevania today.
Yo, boy.
So how much do you know about those games?
I know. I follow a lot of YouTube people who are big fans of the series. I personally never played any of them. The only familiarity, I think, maybe I touched that fighting game.
Oh, the one
Judgment?
on the Wii?
Yeah,
Judgment.
the one with the Death Note artists rendition of the characters.
That was certainly a game.
Yeah.
Well,
weird.
For all of you viewers.
Oh, also, I've never touched Simon or Trevor in Smash Brothers.
Oh, really?
Nah, I've never done them.
You mean Simon and Richter?
Is it Richter?
Yeah, it's Richter.
I thought it was, okay. Well,
Nah. But anyway, well, for you viewers, since you've probably already looked at the title of this podcast, we're actually going to be talking about not video games, because this is Action Toon Brothers, not Action Game Brothers.
Yeah.
We're actually going to be talking about the Netflix adaptation of Castlevania.
Yeah.
Who, boy, when I first watched this, we'll get into that, but just a fair warning, it is a Castlevania series. So, very graphic, a lot of language. So if you're squeamish about all of that, don't watch this show.
Yeah.
But it's an animation, so it's okay, right? Because animation's always for kids. No, it's not.
Yeah. Do you know the studio behind this one?
I actually don't, to
They look
be honest.
very familiar. I can't put it down.
Hopefully by the next time we record, we'll have that. But
also, I was going to say, noise warning. We're recording at my house, and for once, my dogs aren't contained or locked up, so there's a good chance you'll hear some very errant, loud barking occasionally.
Yes. Well, right now he's pretty chill in there. The worst problem. And as if on cue.
Yeah, you hear that one in the back?
Well, with all that being said, we are going to start with episode 1 of the Netflix Castlevania series.
Oh, and before you start, this is an adaptation of the third game.
It's an adaptation of a few things.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a hodgepodge. For those of you who played who've played 3, I think it's Lament of Shadows, and who've played Symphony of the Night. Those are ones that you guys will catch on very quickly. By the next episode, I'll actually know if it's actually Lament of Shadows or not. But it's kind of like a hodgepodge of the 3 of them in its own timeline. So it doesn't follow a game to the T. So with that in mind, any other comments?
No.
Okay, cool. We're going to start with episode 1 of this.
Yeah, I'm about to be saying the same name in unison, or as we usually do.
You know, I want you to say it this time.
Oh, episode 1, Witch Bottle.
Oh, wait. Wait. So we start off in Wallachia.
Wallachia or Wallachia?
They say it in the show, it's Wallachia.
Wallachia?
I know, note, in this one, we're pronouncing it Wallachia. Some people say it Wallachia, some people say it Wallachia.
Yeah,
but no, in this show, it's Wallachia.
Yeah, the first shot is a bunch of skeletons on spikes.
Yeah, impaled on pikes. And Wallachia, 1455.
Yeah, a bunch of bats fly until they get knifed by some blonde lady.
Yeah, some random blonde lady just walking along a sea of corpses.
Yeah.
And she looks up and she sees a very imposing castle.
Yeah, I said a crazy giant steampunk castle.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, she starts walking in, looking around, and then she knocks, and the doors just automatically open.
I wrote that the art style, this is when we first see the inside of the castle, the art style is absolutely gorgeous on
Oh
this.
my goodness, yes.
Yeah.
Just all of the backgrounds in this, beautiful, especially when you go inside Dracula's castle.
Oh, yeah.
It may look barren, but she walks in, and as she walks in, she's like, "Hi, my name is Lisa of Lupu."
Yeah, Lupa.
Lupa, sorry.
Yeah.
Of Lupa. And then, of course, as she's introducing herself, the master of the castle appears.
Yeah, we see a caped man fluttering around the shadows, trying to dress her like, who are you, some witch? What's going on here? She says she's no witch, she believes in science.
Yep. And, of course... the tall individual is introduced as Vlad Dracula Tempest,
Lord of this house.
Yep, and of course he's like he's trying to do what Dracula does best: seduce and eat.
Yeah,
but Lisa ain't having any of that.
Yeah, she wants to trade for his knowledge, and of course she chastises him for his rude manners.
Yeah,
just to get all up.
And of course Dracula is kind of confused at this at first. He's just like, wait, huh? But then after she's like, yeah, I want some of your knowledge. I can trade you. I can teach you about people. I can get you out more because everyone's afraid of you. I can make it so that they don't have to be afraid of you.
Yeah, she says she wants to heal people and learn. And Dracula's like, oh, I like your style. And so he starts showing her around the castle. He says this whole castle can travel. And his true science, very arcane, punk-looking, crazy...
Yeah, like a mix between, like, alchemy, actual science, and a whole lot of other things.
Yeah, she says she wants to teach the people, and she will show him how... Yeah, that's when she said the whole interact thing.
Yep.
This is when we smash cut to 1475, Targovishta, Wallachia.
Very good on that pronunciation.
Oh, of course.
Because a lot of these are like, you read it, and it does not sound exactly how
it sounds like it was made by Japanese people in the 90s.
Right.
Doing vague Transylvania-like words.
Targovishte, where we see someone being burnt at the stake. And yes, it's Lipa. It's Lisa.
Lipa.
Now, it's
Lisa from Lipa.
It's Lisa, now Tempish.
Yeah, we see a number of obviously religious people praying towards her. And we see the lead bishop talking to the mayor of the town.
Yes, and the mayor, it's funny because it's like, is this necessary? This seems excessive. No, we must burn all the heretics.
Yeah, her scientific material is witchcraft, he says. And
even the mayor is like, I have been looking into some of this stuff. Bishop gives one look. No. Just looking, not practicing.
He also mentions that her last name is Tepish.
Yes, this is
alluding that they've been married, yeah.
Yep, and she has been married, and it's witch burning, back in ancient times.
Yeah, this bishop says the Archbishop of Wallachia wants the village to remain simple and pure, and just when she pleads from the stake for someone not to hurt the people, and the bishop says, "Oh, she's worshiping Satan," or she's like pleading with Satan.
Yes, but more specifically, Lisa is telling someone
we don't know.
that
just don't hurt them.
Don't be angry at them. They don't know what they're doing. Please don't do anything rash against them, kind of thing.
And this is when we see the intro, which I think when I first saw this series, I completely didn't pay attention to it at all. The intro video thing, I skipped it most of the videos when I first watched it, but this time it does show the lead three characters' backstories and some pretty cool art style.
Pretty much, but we don't want to get too far into
that. Of course, I'm not going to go into what it actually shows, but yeah, that was a very interesting thing. Like, oh wow, that's all the backstory you need to know because you're not going to get many flashbacks going forward from here.
Exactly.
We see a small village. Is this what's it called?
It's Lupu.
Is this Lupu? No. He's going to when we see
Lupa. It's however you pronounce it. Lupa. Yeah, this actually is in Lupa because he's going back to his house.
Yeah, we see a small village of Lupa. Dracula's walking through with a wedding ring on.
Yep.
He reaches his house and sees it's destroyed.
Absolutely. He learns because there's an older lady. Her name is this is Juvara, I think. That's how you pronounce it.
I don't remember if she was named.
She never has a name, but in my notes I actually looked up.
Yeah.
And we find out she's one of the patients of Lisa. And she tells Dracula, hey, the church came by, took her, they're gonna burn her, and they burnt this place, and they say it's condemned. They say she's a witch, and I don't believe that because she's helped me out.
Yeah, we see Dracula beginning to cry blood and tells her to flee this village before he gets his revenge.
More specifically, his last act of kindness.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, lady, get your things and get out of here. You don't want to be here.
Yeah, and he disappears into a big giant beam of fire.
Yep, big old fire.
And we cut back to Targovishta at the burning woman who is now less than a corpse. She's just pretty much crumbling.
She's just a charred skeleton at this point.
The mayor and the bishop are just sitting there like, oh, finally, it's done.
It's over with. We're good.
Yeah.
And the bishop is still being all bishopy, like, good. Now, as long as we can keep everything pure, and that's when it happens.
Yep. Dracula appears before the church as a big flaming skull, warning them of his return in 1 year to kill all the humans.
Yep, 1 year, and of course, they don't believe it's Dracula. They think it's the devil.
Yeah, oh, Satan. And he says, all right, I'll kill you all. This is your fault. You've killed her. This is when, after that, he cuts back to
in his castle.
A big crystal room, I wrote, where he starts smashing things in anger.
And he's just like, I'll give him a year. I'll summon everything out in hell to do all this. And
I'm going to build an army.
I'm going to build an army in a year, and they'll all suffer. And you hear just a voice in the background that says, I can't let you do that, Dad. Yeah,
a blonde figure appears and tells him not to kill the people. And they knew no better. He tries to stop Dracula, but they lunge at each other and we see a big giant slash and it fades out.
Yep.
1 year later, we see a religious celebration and some weird, I wrote fat-necked archbishop.
Yep, fat-necked archbishop, and he's just like, hey, look, we've kept Tartovishka all well. Yep. And what happened a year ago? The devil came and he was like, oh, I'm going to kill you in a year. And guess what? It's been a year and we're still standing because that never is famous last words or anything.
Yeah, as he's saying that, it begins to rain blood. And we see, like, fleshy, weird things falling from the sky.
Yep.
They start, like, crashing into buildings and such. The archbishop is, like, almost immediately speared by a giant piece of glass from the church that's burning up.
And that's when we see another visage, don't we? Of Dracula, because he's like, I gave you...
Before that, I think Dracula's big-ass castle pops out of the earth.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It just appears.
Yeah, and I wrote in my notes, freaking, like, if you play Warhammer, you know Varghast, the vampire monsters that are with the big giant bat creatures. It literally looks exactly like them. It's so weird. They pop up and they start tearing up people. And they start, like, really graphically, tons and tons of blood, just slashing people, eating babies.
We're not going to go into the detail, but yeah, they're literally like in Doom, ripping and tearing.
Yeah, they are insane, but then a big cloud of bats appears and tells them to keep killing. You're going to take over this town. Yep. And this is my revenge, and it's obviously Dracula. And that's when we get another fade out to Bosha and Cobb at a bar. Two randos, I wrote in my notes, having a long conversation about some weird goat fucker, as they say.
Yeah, just
a really long running gag. It's real gross and real weird.
And unfortunately, in this bar, it's very empty except for those two weird goat fucking guys, the bartender, and a very heavily dressed man, just in the corner drinking. So
asking for a refill.
Yep, just wants a refill. He's just like, give me a refill, please.
Yep, and then a man named Peter bursts into the bar and says, Dracula's army is headed this way. This is when they start bitching about, or Bosha starts bitching about, it's the rich families, this is all their fault, like the Belmonts. And then we see the main guy being like,
it's just like,
here we go. Yep, that is where the first episode ends.
Yep.
I wrote Richard Armitage. I think he's the voice of Trevor in this.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, famous for me anyway, as Thorin from The Hobbit. Also, I think he played Wolverine in a long audio drama podcast that just came out.
Wait. Say that first one about
He was Thorin Oakenshield in The Hobbit.
Like in the live action one?
Yeah.
Oh.
He was also, he voices Wolverine in like a famous audio drama that's out right now.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, he's a huge voice actor. This first episode was crazy. I loved the design of the monsters, just because it reminded me of, but like the story and the backstory of Dracula and everything was really, really cool. I loved seeing that for the first time.
Yep. Yes, the build up of technically Castlevania 3.
Yeah.
Now, here's my big question, because after every episode we talk about, I gotta ask you. You said you like the designs and everything like that. And what do you think of Dracula so far? Just Dracula, the main character.
I think he looks really, really cool. I think he's like a fantastic character too, because he's like so obviously already immensely powerful. And it's just like such a really cool character to be like seeming like a protagonist in anything else. First thing you see is like him being like that. And I know tertiarily, just through cultural osmosis, some of the times he's like in some of the games he might be a protagonist or such like that. Also, he keeps coming back, and it's just so fascinating seeing like such a really interesting character being introduced so well for it to be the antagonist of the series.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I love the video games and everything, but this right here, you actually get to see him, start off as normal Dark Lord to, hey, I'm actually gonna, ease up and get married to, I'm going to burn the whole goddamn world.
Yeah, it's such a fantastic turn.
It's so great, and there's more to come, obviously, but they do even better with him.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to the rest of the series.
Yep, and now we start with Episode 2,
Necropolis.
How does it start, Matt?
Oh, Bosha continues to bitch about the Belmonts and other rich families making peasants live very difficultly. And this is when Trevor, for who we don't know, it is Trevor, sidles up to the bar and says, hey man, gotta get a refund, I need to get out of here. And he accidentally shows his crest when he reaches for money.
And that's when the bumpkins, as I like to call them, just be like, oi, I know that crest.
Yeah, Belmont.
Belmont. And, of course, he's like, nope, I just found this, I'm just drinking, I'm gonna take another drink, I'm gonna leave, nothing has to be, and then the bumpkins start a fight.
Oh, I was gonna say before that, we see the Bosha, the lead idiot bald guy, who's like saying, oh, the Belmonts, they dealt in black magic and monsters, also they were excommunicated because they're evil, just giving us a little exposition on Trevor's backstory.
Right, yes. So yeah, building up that, because the Belmonts at this point, which I think Trevor is the second Belmont in the timeline, at least. Because it goes by generation.
There's not Rickard. What's his name?
Richter?
No, before Richter.
Oh yeah, Leon Belmont was the first one.
Leon, yeah.
And then through generations, Trevor was in the like actual timeline.
Yeah.
Is the next Belmont that we get to see. So somewhere between Leon and Trevor is apparently they got excommunicated by the church for dealing in black magic and dealing with demons and stuff like that, and I mean, seeing that bishop in the first episode, I'm not surprised.
Of course. But you're right, they start the fight even though Trevor just wants to leave. He says, hey man, I was exiled. I was exiled from the family. I don't want to fight. And of course, after a very long, very cool fight sequence of him, being drunken and still get a couple of hits in, but he of course wins and beats them all up.
Yep.
And he leaves and vomits in an alley while he goes on his way.
Yep, pretty much. But yes, this Trevor Belmont, our hero, everyone, a drunkard who doesn't really give a shit.
Yeah.
That is our main character, guys.
That's a very interesting take. The whole setup already feels like a very cool, interesting D&D campaign.
Right.
But he awakes under a tree, making his way to the closest town, which is Greshit.
Yep, surprisingly enough. And, of course, Greshit just got attacked by a lot of the night hordes, or I think that's what they call them, the night hordes.
I just literally refer to them as Varghasts in my Varghast.
Of course you do, Mr. Warhammer.
Yeah, but they you see them carrying off a freaking baby, the ones running outside of the town. It's just a whole montage of dead people in this village.
A whole lot of
dead.
A whole lot of dead, not just people, but night creatures. And it's a really old city, so it's surrounded by muck and.
Oh yeah, it's very grimy. You see them piling up bodies in the sewers or under bridges. They're just getting rid of people because of the previous night's attacks.
And how does Trevor decide to walk into the city? He just goes into a sewer pipe, pretty much.
Yep, avoiding the poo water. He kind of just sneaks up. He's about to knock a guard out, but then he realizes that he's asleep, so he's like, oh, okay.
One of my favorite lines, actually, is when he's about to go in is, never thought I'd be crawling up a shit pipe to search for breakfast. I'm like, oh, dude, I love this so much.
We see the inside of the city is actually very, very cold. There's lots of starving and homeless people we see. Piles of dead bodies under bridges, like I said. Trevor kind of just spits and doesn't really care. He's very
he just goes, he buys his breakfast and everything, and then he notices a robed figure being followed by what looks like cardinals. I call them.
Wait, before that, Trevor views the marketplace and decides he wants to get some food. He stops at a shopkeeper who gives him some. And while he's there, he asks what's going on. He says, oh, well, the speakers are in the village, but they'll be gone soon, and then the demons will leave us alone. We see another storekeeper say that there is a sleeping warrior under the town that will help
that's right.
them.
This is how the exposition
starts. We first see
starts.
that, Some more people blame the speakers, others blame the church slightly. But of course, Trevor's kind of still indifferent but vaguely interested. It goes down an alley, and this is when he sees the church thugs harassing an old speaker.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, that's the best way to call them. The church thugs. Literally, two guys dressed up as like cardinals, I think, in like some kind of church, and they're harassing an old man, and the old man's like, I do not have to listen to this.
Yeah, and we learned that the speakers do know magic from one of the thugs' exposition to him.
Apparently they're like, you're dealing in magic. That's evil. You need to come with us. And the old man's like, nope, I don't have to come with you at all. And then of course Trevor's just like, Trevor just busts in. He's just like,
yeah, leave the old man alone. And
yeah, come on now. This is not how you treat an old man. And then a fight scene happens.
Yeah, he gets a really cool scene where he cuts. Does he take one of the guy's eyes? He takes with a whip as we first see the classic Belmont whip. Yeah.
Yep, we see the whip, and we see he's very adversed in it. Cutting off a finger, I think, in this scene.
Yeah, he cuts off the bald one's finger, I think, and he cuts off the bearded one's eye.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
It's a very cool fight scene.
And of course, they're like, "You haven't seen The Last of Us." Oh. And then as they leave, the old man's like, hey, thanks, you didn't have to be so violent.
Yeah, he's like, hey, man, I just saved your life, and he escorts him back to the group of speakers. This is when we learn one speaker is missing from their party. Trevor meets the rest of the group, and we learn that the Belmonts know these people, and there was a little bit of their secrets. They had a falling out when his father, did he say it was his father tried to write down their oral history?
I think it was his father, yeah.
Yeah, we learned that they're nomadic, and this group has been staying here for a while for some reason.
And they actually, the group, because we never heard, even though we know they use magic and stuff, this is when we actually hear them being called the Speaker Magicians.
Yeah, we learn that they also know of the sleeping hero under the village.
Yes, and they actually, believe.
Yeah, and the church does blame them for the attacks, even though it's obviously Dracula's horde, and it's because of the church.
Right.
They're here to help the people since all the church and all the other medical people have left the village at this point. Mm-hmm. And this is when one speaker, they see what happened to the missing one. They say that they went to the catacombs and haven't returned, and that's why they're staying. And
the other reason, one of the younger ones is like, Belmont, help us. You need to save them because it's not just one of our own. It's actually the elder's granddaughter too.
Well, grandchild.
Thank you, grandchild. Sorry, grandson, granddaughter.
But yeah, of course, yeah. It's the Belmonts are the only ones who are capable of defeating Dracula as well. Trevor isn't interested in helping, but then they say, it's his grandchild, you have to do this. He says, fine, I'll save the grandchild, but right after that, you guys are leaving this city.
Immediately, yeah. He's just like, yep, your child comes, you guys go. No ifs, no ands, no buts.
Yeah, and that is when the second episode ends.
Yep.
I loved seeing the whip just because that's the only thing I know about Castlevania is that he uses that they use whip. The Belmonts typically use whips.
Oh, trust me, I get that. Yeah. We actually got to see some fighting, not just brawling, but we got to see some fighting. And this version of Trevor Belmont. Mm-hmm. Oh my! Because when I think Belmont, actually, there's your question for this episode. No. When you hear Belmont, what do you think when you hear of a Belmont?
Specifically, I think of that one skit from Robot Chicken where it's a Castlevania spoof, and like the main Belmont, I forget which one it is, or the blonde one, the main one from the first couple games, I think.
Oh, the one, Simon.
Simon is like going into Dracula's castle, and he pulls out a whip, and then it's like, what are you supposed to do with that? And he starts like whipping them, and he starts like screaming every time that he whips the people. It's a very, very funny skit. It goes on for a really long time. But that's like my main, like whenever I hear the Belmont, that's immediately what I think of.
Yeah, see, I played some of them, and of course, when you think Belmont, you're the main character. You're like, I'm a holy warrior, going to kill the evil and destroy Dracula. Yeah. This one, I'm Trevor fucking Belmont, and I've never lost to man or beast before. And, just some random-ass drunkard who's just like, I guess I have to do this. I love it.
Yeah,
so
he's
much.
a very fun character as well. He feels like a classic D&D character as well. Like this whole thing's gonna feel like an adventure eventually. But yeah, I really like his character. He's a very interesting protagonist too for this kind of series. But,
indeed.
It's I was gonna say there's not gonna spoil it, but when they get the whole crew together, there is one character from Castlevania 3 that's not present. The pirate,
we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, trust me, that's something I was going to mention.
Yeah. I was going to say, well, yeah, we'll wait till the group's together then.
Yeah, we'll wait until the end of this episode.
Oh, okay. Well,
yes, we'll wait till the end of this episode.
All right.
No. Recording episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Whew, I keep forgetting. We can't just say episode.
I know, well, yeah, like, I messed it up on our recording of Movie Garbage. I said, what a good batch of episodes, and we watched a bunch of movies.
Right.
Just say it on this show. Shush.
Yes, you're right, Bear. We should go on to the next episode.
Yeah.
Episode 3,
Labyrinth.
Wait, it can't be Labyrinth. David Bowie's not here.
Oh, boo. I was going to say the Minotaur and the Theseus and the string and all that.
Oh, there is that too. So, at the beginning, we actually start with Trevor going into said catacombs.
Yeah, we see opens up an old grave site. Trevor enters the old crypts and descends into a secret path where he finds fresh torches and some new piping.
Yeah, and some piping, which, back in the day, piping wasn't even a thing.
Yeah.
And of course, he's looking down and he's just like, huh. And of course, he's like, this is all strange.
Yeah, the floor collapses and he saves himself. He's like, with his cat-like reflexes. But then, of course, that falls from under him as well. He still collapses like a goof.
And when he descends even lower, he sees something even stranger.
Yeah.
Which are torches that light themselves. AKA, they look like light bulbs.
Yeah, I said electric lights go off. And he's in a room with a bunch of statues.
Yep, and a bunch of humans in similar robes.
Some are in armor.
Yeah, some of them are, and some of them are in armor as well.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he's just like, oh, well, this is not good.
Yeah, and when we see a massive stone-eye Cyclops.
Yep.
Out of the family bestiary, he says. I was like, hey, they mentioned the bestiary. Yep. D&D.
And of course, a nice fight ensues.
Very great lavish animation on this fight scene.
Indeed, yeah. And of course, we find out, what did you call it? The Stone Eye?
Stone Eye
Cyclops. Yeah,
Stone
Eye Cyclops. We find out why everyone turns to stone, because he has a literal beam that can turn anything to stone.
Very cool monster.
Very good. And of course, after a nice, beautiful fight scene, Trevor kills it.
Yeah, he kicks his sword into its eye, killing it. So it was a really cool scene.
Yep. And then after all of that, as if, in some video game logic or some lore logic, the source of the stoning was killed, therefore everything else de-stones.
I was going to say, in case you forgot, listeners, if you've read The Forgotten Minotaur King or listened to the podcast, the King Mindus's gold ability is the exact same as the Medusa gold ability, or the stone ability, where if you defeat it, the only thing that can turn it back is either killing it or dousing its blood onto whatever was turned. And I was like, that's a very cool, that's awesome. I didn't realize that was a thing that was used in this show. And yes, I actually
did get that far in it. Don't give me that look.
The person unfreezes, revealing that it's a girl.
Yep, a lady.
Yeah, Trevor chastises the girl for getting caught and for the speakers for dressing their girls up as boys. I was gonna say, this is a callback to the third game where you didn't know that Sypha, this character Sypha, it was actually a girl till I think the last. If you don't get her ending, she took her hood down and you see it's a girl.
Yep.
Otherwise, you don't know that this magician is a girl the whole time.
The olden days of Nintendo were very good at hiding their characters.
Yeah, but we revealed that she's a girl and she has a very anime misunderstanding of will you climb on me, you weirdo? What are you doing?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then of course Trevor's like, okay, found you, let's go. And Sypha Belenades, that last name is actually very important.
Yeah.
She's like, what? No, I'm looking for the sleeping soldier. No, we're going to find the sleeping soldier. And Trevor's like, no. I came down here to save you. We're going.
He says there's no word. That was obviously a trap. Just for this monster to get people. And she's like, that's not funny. And it's just, it's a very cool situation. But then she's like, hi, my name is Sypha Belenades, and then she's just kind of I don't care. As he's leaving, we see a bunch of the other dead bodies unfreezing.
And it's just like, ugh. If you want to stay here, fine. I'm going.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm coming with you. And so we see the whole group of speakers are they look up as someone walks into the door, and Sypha is safe, and they're all like, yay, you're safe.
They thank Trevor for returning to the family. They thank Trevor for helping so much. And this is when Sypha says, well, we need to continue to stay here because these people need help. And there is someone down there, I know it.
And that's when Trevor's like, here's the problem with that whole sleeping soldier thing. I went down there, and everything I saw, from what I've read about a certain place, definitely reminds me of Dracula's castle.
Yep, the lights and the pipes mean whatever's down there is connected to the castle.
Yep.
And this is when the speakers say they still want to stay just to help people and to look for that. He reminds them that they need to leave, and they had a deal. Outside, we see the finger priest.
Finger and eye. Finger and eye.
Yeah, literally. That's how I referred to him as my notes, too.
Yeah, we see Finger and Eye, the two original church thugs,
yeah.
are like, oi, you, Belmont, Bishop requests your presence now.
Yeah, and this is when Trevor kind of looks around and sees a bunch of other priests, up in the rafters with bows and all kinds of other ones with knives and swords.
Actually, in my note, I called them the Cardinal Combat Squad.
Yeah, of course. A bunch of the armed priests escort him, saying even excommunicated people can be ordered by the church to enter. Like, he says, I can't go into church, I'm excommunicated. And he's like, well, no, if they say you can, if they force you to come, you have to come. The Bishop of Gresham blames the speakers despite knowing the real cause. When Trevor approaches him, saying, like, yeah, when the speakers are killed, they'll leave. He tells Trevor to leave, and that's his gift to him. Like, your life is your gift. You get to leave this village alive.
Yeah, I don't care about your whole excommunication and thing from the church, because I know you're evil. Yeah, if you leave, you get to live.
Yeah.
And that's my... And, of course, I think that's when... Trevor makes a quip at him, like, oh, sure, the church, doing all... And, of course, yeah, I forget what exactly was said.
Well, in regards to him saying that, like, the Archbishop would never forget, or the higher up than you is needed to fix our excommunication. And then he says, oh, well, soon the whole church will be mine, the bishop says. As he, obviously he's a huge dick.
Yeah, very power hungry, very insane.
The one responsible for the death of Lisa in the beginning. Trevor goes back to warn the speakers, but they still refuse to leave, despite knowing that everyone's blaming them, and despite knowing that their lives are in danger.
And of course, Trevor's just like, all right, fine, stay, die for all you, for all I care.
Yeah, they give him a speech about doing what's right, and he threatens them. He's like, no, you guys are leaving now. He walks towards them with the sword, and this is kind of when it fades out. Then we see a montage of those Vargeists again returning to the village, and a montage of the villagers approaching the speaker's hut, just preparing for an all-out battle, apparently. When they enter the hut, we see the same church thugs once again enter the little hut.
With the bishop this time.
No, it's a different guy. It was a different guy who looks vaguely similar to it, but the bishop's still inside the church.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, they enter expecting to find the speakers, but they just find Trevor there.
And Trevor's just like, I don't like it. I don't like this public lynching thing.
Yeah, he also says, don't worry, there's someone safe, and we see a quick cut to the speakers all in the cave with the Cyclops.
With the dead Cyclops and all the dead bodies.
Trevor says that this is an angry mob, and you guys are just, being idiots. And the priest is like, oh, you can't take us all, we're going to defeat you. And he's like, yeah, well, and of course he just takes them all down, goes outside with a giant cross, pulls down a giant cross onto the building, collapsing it.
Oh yeah, this is when he's running around the entire
town.
Yeah,
very cool, anime run with dispersing the mob by pulling down after the cross.
And then with the help of Sypha too, who this is when we first.
Before Sypha. This is way before then, because this is when we see he runs through the crowd, taking a bunch of their weapons. Most of the priests are like, what the hell's going on? And this is when we see the entirety of the army descend upon the village, and that's
the night hordes.
Yeah, and that's when
what do you call it?
Vargeists.
The Vargeists.
Yeah, and that we see him running through the village, escaping, and the Vargeists are descending onto the village, and that's when the episode just
that's when the episode ends. Yeah. For those of you who are new listening to these episodes, sometimes I get excited and jump ahead.
It's a lot to happen. Now, I love it so much.
Here's my next question. First impressions of Sypha Belenades.
I was very interested in this character. I love having a magic character in a show. A purely magic character on their team is very interesting.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
My big thing is she's not just a regular speaker mage. I'm the. She's hey, excuse me? No.
Yeah.
We are not doing that. And, I don't know. Do you know anything about the voice actress? Because I don't.
I didn't look it up, but she does sound familiar.
Yeah, she does sound very familiar.
But yeah, I love it. They went with a big Hispanic actress.
Yeah, okay, good. I was going to say, because she sounds slightly Hispanic.
Oh, yeah, she looks it too, which is a very interesting take.
Yeah, oh my goodness. So far, these first 3 episodes, I mean, they're doing build-up very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will say that I know in the game you can choose who you play as, but like I probably would have ended up playing just a Cypher because I like magic characters and games where you give you a choice.
Yeah, and
like
of
any
course
Dark Souls or anything.
it's side-scrolling NES game.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're a magic user, but it really doesn't change anything.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I was like curious and I looked up like LPs of the game this is based on. I was like, oh, but this is rough and very old school. But I see why people like it so much. It's like a lot of divergent paths and all the stuff with getting everybody. I love Sypha's character. She's very interesting. Also, she has a really great design with the like orange hair. She looks
like the fiery orange hair. Yeah, they did so well. I mean, like I said, next episode we'll find out who the we'll find next recording episode we'll find out who did this anime because whoever did it, they did superbly.
Yeah, I love all the art style. It's just such a gorgeous show. And also this set of episodes specifically is like designed to be one long story. You can really tell because it's such like a good flowing like tone throughout the entire thing. And
they are putting a lot in, but it's paced perfectly.
Absolutely.
For putting as much in. But speaking of pacing, let's get to the final episode of this recording, episode 4.
Monument. The mob.
We start off with the angry mobs outside, the night hordes, and then we get to probably my favorite scene in season 1 at least.
Oh, yeah.
We get to see the bishop standing quietly in his quiet, I wanted to say court, but that's not true for a church. All of a sudden, the door, his eyes are closed, the door opens.
Yeah, I thought he's just chilling in his church, smugly smiling until the door's open.
The door's open and closed, and he goes, hey, are the speakers, gone? Are they dead? Has it been taken care of? And just a voice, an ominous voice is like, the speakers are... is it sundown? Because he wanted the speakers down by sundown. Yeah. Are the speakers gone? If not, get back out there. And it's like, the sun's already down. And you see this weird werewolf-looking thing with blue eyes. Particularly, this one's actually known as Blue Eyes, even though it never actually...
I will say it has a 3 sets of eyes, yeah.
Yeah, 3 sets of... Actually, this one is actually known as Blue Fangs.
Blue Fangs. Is it a character from the games or just referred to in the voice?
The only way you find out that it's Blue Fangs is when you turn on the subtitles. And it actually has an official name. And he's like, oh, no. I don't care about the speakers. We're here for all of you. And the bishop's like, you can't be here. You're demons. This is a house of God. And Blue Fangs is like, oh, God has long left this place.
Yeah, that's a really cool line from the demon. Just like, he doesn't love you or this church because of what you've done. And he just like starts slowly approaching the bench and you guys freaking out. It's a really, really cool, really dramatic scene. And very cathartic for such an evil character to finally go
really
down.
is, yeah. And of course, I am the Lord. I've been doing His will. Lies in the Church of God. I'm like, oh, dude. And all leads up to, your God doesn't unconditionally love because He hates us. He hates you, but we love you.
Yeah.
And then it gets weird because he like gently caresses and lifts up the bishop. He's like, let me kiss you.
Yeah.
And then proceeds to, you actually hear him eating, probably eating his face.
Yeah, I actually have a question about this. Because you see, after the kiss, he seemingly eats the bishop. I was going to say, later we do see the bishop's body. I don't remember if like the face or anything's messed up.
We'll get there when we get there.
I will try to remember that we brought this up.
Yeah, we'll get there when we get there.
But yeah, the mob continues to the mob still continues to chase Trevor, and Sypha, this is when she finally protects him with her magic.
This is when, because as he's running around, all of a sudden, like, ice would appear, and he's like, what's going on? And, like, Trevor looks up, sees Sypha using magic, and he's like, oh, I didn't know you knew magic.
Yeah, and then,
kind of thing.
Yeah, and this is when they say, like, oh, she's a witch, and she's like, I'm not a witch, I'm a magician. And then she's like, oh, there we go. She makes a path for Trevor, but Trevor calls out to the bearded priest, saying, hey, wait, no, him. Oi,
me.
the priest with that priest has a knife. Like what he says,
Yeah,
like
right.
I wrote
that priest has a knife. You, me, 1-on-1, fight me, bro.
No, he's just like gives a speech about how the bishops are to blame, and they know that the church it killed an innocent woman, and that's why Dracula's doing this. He clarifies to the whole mob the reason that speakers are innocent. It's actually the church, and then this is when the mob actually finally turns and kills the priest.
Yeah, they actually turn, and we get to see Trevor in his glory, because as all this is happening, he's like, okay, all right, everyone, we need salt, we need a lot of different things. Can I have a priest who's actually ordained in the church?
Yeah.
And then he's like, go and get some well water. You know what to do with it, right? Go.
Yeah, and this is when he tells the rest of the people to salt their sword blades.
Yep.
The demons approach because they've completely overrun the city at this point. Sypha walls off some of the demons with her giant ice walls.
Yeah, pretty much hurting them in. And of course, Trevor is giving some actual tactics like, hey, spears forward and at this angle, and like it's actually all really cool. And then of course, like as some of the Night Horde gets killed, and the people are like, holy crap, we're actually doing this. Even more Night Hordes come and they actually throw the water on them. And he's just like, water. Oh, the priest actually did know his stuff.
Yeah.
Because, holy water.
Yeah, it's a very, very cool fight scene of the actual villagers taking down the people. Trevor and them are, this is what I think they do, they encounter Blue Fangs before they collapse in the ground, right? They take him out?
They take him out.
Oh, yeah, Trevor cuts his face in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he was literally only important for that one scene.
Of course. But yeah, they take out the biggest demon, which is Blue Fangs. Trevor cuts his head in half, and this is when they fall. The ground collapsed beneath them into the underground catacombs filled with gears and scaffolding.
Yep. And he's just like, okay, this ain't good.
Yeah, I wrote in my notes lots of zany platforming and falling floors and some
using
near
your
jumps.
Whip like you should.
Yeah,
like in the older
I'm gonna
games.
say this from the LP I looked up on this game. This is like the most actually the game section because it is a bunch of jumping around weird gear buildings.
Yeah. it kind of is. Only no enemies.
Yeah. Fortunately,
but then after all that weird platforming and stuff, they get to a room when they step on a panel.
Yeah, and they land in a very pretty room with a big coffin in the center.
Yep. And once they step on a random platform, it just opens up, and you get to see a very beautiful looking blonde man.
Yeah, just float out of the coffin. I wrote gorgeous blonde man floats out of the coffin with a big scar on his chest.
And of course,
Sypha is like, this is the savior, and Trevor's like, no, that's not a savior. That's not a savior. Definitely a vampire, and it's probably Dracula.
And it's like that's a vampire, and we all know Dracula's a vampire. That could have been Dracula for all we know. And all of a sudden, the blonde hears this, and he's like, wait. You're talking about my dad, aren't you?
Oh, no, he says, who are you guys? How long has it been? How long have you been here? He's no, ancient sleeping warrior. How long have you been down? And he says, what year is it? And they say, it's 75, right?
I think he's 76, actually.
Oh, 76. Okay, he says, I've been down here about a year. And he says, well, Trevor, do you care about humans? And then Trevor's
he's been there for 100 years.
No, this character says, I've only been down here in this tomb for about a year.
Oh, for about a year, okay.
Yeah, and then he says, Trevor, do you care about humans? And then he says, Sypha, this is a vampire. He's not sure, no, I asked you, do you care about humans? He says, well, I'm starting to. He says, I'm starting to care about humans, but I know I'm going to kill you because you're a vampire, Prop Dracula.
He's just like, you can try.
Yeah.
They have a fight.
Yeah, they have a very, very cool fight. It looks great.
And one of my favorite parts in this entire fight is Trevor does what he does best. He's attacking with his whip. This vampire guy is fighting with a sword that he does not touch.
Yeah, it's a weird thin fencing. I forgot what they're called, but yeah.
And when the vampire pins him down, he's like, any last words? Trevor does what he does best. Kicks him in the nuts.
Yeah.
But nothing happens. And the vampire's response is, this isn't a bar fight. Have some class.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's amazing.
They have a very cool fight. The vampire breaks Trevor's sword, and then this is when Trevor shows that he has a stake, and he says, I could probably kill you before you get that stake through. And he says, well, Sypha can stop you before you kill me. And we see Sypha has her magic right behind the vampire.
She is ready to burn this guy. And of course he's like, wait, I thought I was your savior. Sypha's like, I'm starting to second guess
this. And also, Trevor saved me, I don't know who you are. And it's just like, and it's when the vampire jovially steps back and says, okay, well, we're good, we're cool.
A hunter and a magician.
Yep.
Sorry, a hunter and a scholar. You'll do just fine.
Yeah.
And then he reveals himself finally as Alucard,
son
of Dracula.
They now have a party. He explains he is Dracula's son, and he tried to stop him from doing this.
And
we also, Liz, when we learned the speakers have a tale, the prophecy about the sleeping savior would be joined by a hunter and a scholar.
Yep.
And that they pack up, get ready for their journey, and that...
the last thing, because this is very important for his character, Alucard says he's going to join them in the name of his mother.
Yeah.
I know it's a little detailed, but very important for his character. And then that's it for this episode, but that's also it for season 1 of Castlevania.
Yeah.
Now, let's start with the basics. The favorite part of these 4 episodes of season 1.
Favorite part's probably the first attack with the Vargas come descending onto the village, and him showing up in that giant steampunk castle, and him saying like, "I gave you a year, you guys didn't listen to me."
The after
vampire. Yeah, it was like the first, the big bad evil guy's first like actual display of like, this is what I told you I was gonna do, and I'm destroying you guys, and you guys have like no chance.
Yeah, I have to agree. Personally, it was very difficult for me.
Oh, yeah.
But my favorite thing was actually the Tartavisca battle, like when Trevor's actually teaching everyone how to fight. And
Yeah.
That was actually one of my favorite, the
Greshit.
Yeah, Greshit. Sorry, I thought it was Tartavisca. No, you're right. No,
that's the
you're
capital.
Right.
Yeah.
Greshit. But yeah, that whole thing, like just seeing Trevor go from I'm a drunken idiot to I still don't want to do this, but at least I'm competent.
Yeah, see, he had a really good. He had a really cool character arc. I think the reason that the attack is my favorite because like we see Dracula go through a full ass character arc from a loner, possibly bad guy, to open normal person trying to be, and then it fucks up and he goes back to being a super mega villain. Mm-hmm. I love that whole dynamic with everything because I love playing bad characters in games and stuff. And just like
trust me,
people having turns and people actually having personal journeys that they go on, and like his ended up with him being like incredibly powerful, incredibly evil, and upset about what happened to him, but like mildly justifiably, but not entirely. And just like such a really cool character. That's why, yeah.
Now here's the next question, and this one's going to be a little bit more difficult, especially for me. What was something you did not like about season 1? Yeah, I was gonna say it's a little bit of a tougher question.
Yeah, I would say that they knowing like about Castlevania and knowing like what the things that they will eventually face, I would say that the Stone Eye Cyclops and I guess Blue Eyes, the Blue Fangs too, being the only like signature monsters that like actually have like note and are like named and actually like pointed out in any way. I would have loved to see more of the like classic, of course, known characters besides the trio and Dracula being like shown, or some like more specific, or like some more like specific monsters being popping out.
Now, don't get me wrong, I get that. But this was only season 1, and for some reason Netflix did it only 4 episodes.
Yeah.
But it was, if I remember correctly, Netflix did it like that as an introduction because they didn't know how well it was going to do.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Like, here, this is season 1. It's only 4 episodes, but how well is it going to do? And it was a smash hit. It was a very big smash hit. So yeah, but I mean, and I'm glad they did it this way because they were careful.
Yeah.
But now, oh my goodness, we got that introduction out of the way. All right. I know you didn't get much introduction to many of the characters except for like 2.
Yeah.
Best character, worst character, go.
Oh boy. Well, yeah. Why you have me rank people? I don't ever make you freaking rank characters like this.
Hey, but guess what?
This
is your my show. Time.
Yeah.
So
I think we talked about that on the Shiva thing too. I would say favorite probably just on aesthetics. Alucard looks amazing. He looks like a really really cool character.
They did do a good job on his looks.
Least favorite probably honestly Trevor. That character archetype. He's a very interesting character, but it's probably like the least interesting character of the 4 main people we know so far.
Yeah. Well, for me, honestly, my favorite one, surprisingly enough, is Sypha.
Yeah.
Because, especially later on, we'll get to that when we do more episodes of this podcast. But yeah, later on, she becomes one of my favorite characters because just You know this because you know I base like 9 out of 10 of my D&D characters this way. I like her sass. I like a sassy character. But my least favorite, and you'll probably see as we go along, I really am not a fan of Alucard in this.
Really?
At least in these first 4 episodes. Don't get me wrong, he looks great and all, but later on, you'll see he doesn't really have much of a character development.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that when we get to there. Now, the thing I wanted to mention, because I know you wanted to mention this as well, now that we're at the end of this recording session, is in this is the main cast. These are the main 3.
Yep.
Unfortunately, you will if those of you who know Castlevania 3, you'll notice that there's one character missing. The thief known as Grant.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in no episodes, even in any of the later seasons, he never makes an appearance.
I was curious. Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like they made, since like original Trevor was a very in the game. I mean, like a very generic, no real personality or no real anything interesting going on. I feel like this Trevor's an amalgamation of both like Grant's thief character and what Trevor would have been otherwise.
I mean, then again, he really didn't have much like development in the first game because it was an NES game. No one really did. But I agree with that. It's like they made Trevor. Yeah, he's a Belmont. He's the demon slayer, but he's also like he gets drunk. He doesn't really give a shit.
Roguish bum.
Yeah, roguish bum. Yeah, no, but I see where you're coming from, and yeah, I kind of have to agree with you. It's like they kind of put the fusion of those two into Trevor. But now, final thoughts on this series?
Final thoughts. When I first watched this, I was very, very invested in it. Of course, I watched this whole thing in one sitting because I'm pretty sure this feels like it could have been a movie. But I was like immediately drawn in. I was a huge fan of all the characters. I loved this. The art style was great. The fighting was very interesting. I was very curious how they were going to handle defeating Dracula because he seems like such a like insurmountable, crazy, awesome villain. But yeah, it was really good. It was a really good batch of episodes. It was a really good story, like self-contained even. I would have, but it did feel like a very sudden ending for just like to see like, okay, Netflix didn't trust us, so we're giving you this much to make you like really if I push them to really give us something here. And I loved it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, like I was skeptical at first because I'm like, because Netflix originals are very hit and miss.
Oh yeah.
So I'm like, I went in. Invested because it was Castlevania.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite series of games. So I'm like, how are they gonna fuck it up? And
really?
These first 4 episodes, because I mean, I watched the first 4 episodes with Chris.
Yeah.
And Chris was just invested in it because it was a great story.
Yeah.
To him, it set up everything properly. For me, I'm like, okay, how are they going to? They didn't.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, wow, I'm surprised.
Yeah, it was. I was gonna say you said Netflix are hit or miss. I was gonna just random, totally unrelated. What's your favorite Netflix original thing besides this? If it's
besides this, surprisingly enough, the Witcher.
The Witcher.
Their adaptation of The Witcher.
Oh yeah.
I actually and we can't go into that right now because I could talk a lot about it. But the one thing I really liked about The Witcher was the fact that I forget the actor's name, but Superman is
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, Henry Cavill is Geralt, and he's very superb. It's no mystery that on this podcast that I'm not a really big fan of Superman or any of the movies. I really didn't see a good Superman movie.
Yeah,
but Henry Cavill wasn't bad as Superman.
Yeah.
Then I found out he was going to be Geralt, and I'm like, how is this going to be? First episode, done. He was the perfect choice. I was
about to say, how much do you actually know about Henry Cavill as a person? Because he's like,
I know he's a big nerd, and because he did like sidebar things for The Witcher.
Yeah,
that were like him. He actually knows a lot about The Witcher.
Dude,
and
he's awesome.
That's when I found out about that. I'm like, that makes it even better.
I'm about to say, back to one of my things, he is a huge Warhammer fan. He does have the Adeptus Custodes army that he paints, and I was just like, oh, awesome, hell yeah. For cast him as the God Emperor. But he also, when he was asked like in an interview, like, oh, Xbox or PlayStation, he was like scoffed, did a disgusted face. He said PC. So he's a very cool dude. I'm glad.
Now back on subject. What's your favorite Netflix?
The Witcher is fantastic. I love it, love it. Mine's kind of a dumb, ironic trash opinion, but I love Slasher, the show Slasher on Netflix.
Okay, that's not my thing.
It is,
but
it's like a literal bootleg, cheap American Horror Story. Ugh. Every season is the same cast of people, but in different roles. And each season is just a murder mystery, but like the person is just like a human mass murderer that's trying to figure out who it is. And like it's like either the first one takes place in a town, second one takes place in an abandoned cabin area, and the third one is like in this tiny apartment complex. But like it's so trashy, it's so dumb, but it's so enjoyable because it's so like dramatic, and the incredible amount of gore. Whoop, loud phone drop. The incredible amount of gore in the series, the incredible like stupid characters that are all like crazy, you know, like who's the character, who's gonna be, the big mystery is always fun to reveal, and I barely ever call them who like the actual killer is in the end. It's
you're actually really good at like pointing out who it is usually.
Yeah, I know. I can use like
you're very analytical and stuff like that. So for you to say like you were watching a show, and you can't call it over half the time, that's actually saying something. It's actually really, really fun because it's like that part they nail. It's a Canadian show, so it's also very weird, and all the actors have funny accents. But it is a really, really fun watch. I binged like every season in like all 3 seasons in like a couple of sittings because it was so enthralling and so like ridiculous. But yeah, I love that series. But yeah, on this, I wish that they made a better modern remix of the Castlevania series, but of course, Konami's trash, so of course they wouldn't. Yeah, Konami is garbage, but surprisingly enough, Netflix did good with this first season.
Absolutely, they killed it. I wish you would think that this show has 4 seasons, that Konami would have done something by this point. You know?
Yeah, right.
Make a new pachinko machine.
I was gonna say, they did. They probably came up with like 2 more Castlevania pachinko machines.
Yeah, probably. It's awful.
And now for the shameless part of this entire podcast, because I have none, Matt. Your shameless plugs, go.
Yo, check out The Forgotten Minotaur King, available on Amazon.com and as a free audio drama podcast, where most podcasts are found, and on this YouTube channel. Matthew Lewis Podcast is a YouTube channel. Matthew Lewis Podcasts on Twitter. Check that out. Instagram, I can't remember my Instagram, but it's probably something Matthew Lewis related. Twitch, I think it's Matthew Lewis Podcast. I have no idea. But check those out. Those are my plugs. Oh yeah, my freaking movie garbage podcast. If you're not following that as well, it's twice a month comes out. Me and Ed, frequent guests on this show. Chris is on a bunch of those too with us. We gotta get Chris back on another one of these.
Yeah, well, it depends on what shows we do.
Yeah.
But either way, anything else for your plugs?
No, I think that's going to be enough on my part.
Well then, wrapping up this first episode, from us to you, we tell you,
keep it sleazy.